Hey guys, it's me, Ashley. This is Kevin. He is here to kind of talk about father's grief and how we as women can help the men in our lives deal with that and his experience. So Kevin, can you kind of tell us how you dealt with the loss of your stillborn babies?
I lost three children, and the first one happened when I was in the Army. And so my command and everybody around me in the Army was really understanding. Gave me some time off work and let me kind of process it. But that one, it was told to me that it was a fluke, and that there really wasn't too much they could say or do about it. So it was kind of just one of those things where we kind of just pushed past it. Ashley went to counseling. I just kind of, was focused on processing out of the Army. When Arthur died, it was more of digging into my work was my way of kind of dealing with it. So I had like 3 days off, and then I just kind of jumped back into work. And, work was pretty understanding, but, I once again, I didn't really go to counseling or anything. And then Logan was sort of some of the same, but it also came with a lot of resentment because there was no medical answer at this point, and they kind of gave us an answer, and they're like, "This is probably what it is." It might be incompetent cervix, that it could be fixed with a cerclage, that may or may not work, but that was the course of action they suggested for the next pregnancy. At which point, I was done, and I had too much pent up anger and resentment to even try for a fourth time. So it was a lot of pushing people away and a lot of sort of woe is me and being angry at the world. And so for a couple of years after that, I just kind of fell into the same cycle of pushing people away, and then new people come to my life and whatnot, until I finally met my second wife, and she kind of forced me into counseling. And my counselor was really good. I'm not a very religious person, so Ashley went back to her religious roots when we lost the children. So my counselor was also not very religious, and so he provided sort of a secular way to process the grief and sort of help me deal with my own issues, which he helped me kind of realize that I had some underlying issues from my childhood, alcoholic father, alcoholic stepfather, some abuse that went on when I was a kid, a lot of things that kind of bubbled to the surface and kind of made me realize that, my behavior wasn't entirely my fault, but I wasn't going to make it any better if I didn't recognize what I was doing and, make a plan to get out of it. So, during this whole time, I had two kids of my own. Isaac and Jacob, they're 3 and 4 now. They're awesome little guys. They're both on the spectrum, which I believe I am as well. And there's their own challenges with being a father like that, but there's also challenges with having the history that I do. Not everyone wants to talk to somebody who has the kind of baggage that I do. I'm sure you've heard about Ashley and her social interactions with this kind of loss are really awkward. I have a tattoo on my arm that is has the kids' initials and birth/death days on it, and anybody sees that tattoo, they're like, "Oh, what's that tattoo for?" And at this point, I've said it so many times that it almost sounds like I don't care, but it's just because it's like, oh no, here we go again. How's this person going to react? And so I kind of expect people to kind of dismiss me, or kind of basically think that I'm damaged goods, or I'm gonna be crazy if you get too close to me, because I tell them I had 3 kids that were stillborn. I didn't handle it very well. I went kind of went off the wall. I mean, Ashley's pretty much the first person I ever had sex with, and we got married and had 3 kids, and and so in my mid-20s, I'm 32 now. my mid-20s were kind of a mess of basically everything that everyone goes through with college was kind of my mid-20s, because I was in the Army instead of going to college. But I also was going to college and working full-time and had all this personal drama going on. But yeah, it makes social interactions, dating, stuff like that really, really difficult, because anybody that doesn't know you immediately kind of puts kid gloves on, and they're like, oh no, how do we interact with this person? You know, I don't know how to handle all that heavy stuff. And for the most part, it's like, I don't know. I used to kind of pride myself on being very stoic and very easy. Like, it was easy for me to take things and let them roll on my shoulders. And now there's a couple of like little chinks in the armor there. Like, anytime I watch a movie or a TV show that has a kid getting hurt, instant waterworks. Like, I start tearing up, and it's bad. So I have a hard time watching that kind of stuff, and it's definitely like, it's got like little subtle changes to how I interact with the world. You know, I try to be a lot more empathetic with people. I'm definitely, I'm a little weird on the political spectrum, like, but I definitely felt myself becoming more of like the bleeding heart liberal that you know, some people accuse everybody of Washington for being. I mean, I was in the military. I support the Second Amendment and military service and all that, so I guess I have like some conservative things. But I mean, it's definitely hard for me to see people that are homeless, you know, kids that are hungry, you know, a whole bunch of social issues that are like very divisive these days, and I tend to fall on the left-hand side, and so that can make me rub people the wrong way, because it's like, if you had been through what I've been through, and come out the other side, you know, I don't see how anybody can lose children and not be more empathetic. I mean, once you get through the whole grieving process, because I was definitely an asshole for a good 3, 4, 5 years. It was not, it's not a period of my life I'm proud of, but it's definitely made me the person I am today, and it's definitely not, I wouldn't go through it again. I mean, I wouldn't say that, you know, I'd do it all over again, because obviously, you know, my kids died, and I wouldn't want them to die again, like, but it's not something that I wish would go away, you know. And initially, that's all I wished. I was like, why me? You know, why'd I have to be in this position? You know, why can't life be fair to me? But now I kind of see it's like, you know, you're only given so much, and you gotta work with what you got, you know. So, I mean, I ended up having kids of my own. Might have more. I don't know. I like being a dad. It's a lot of fun. Right now, I'm the cool parent, so it's fun, and I'm hoping eventually I get to see the other side of things, and I get to be the strict parent, the not so fun parent, where they're like, oh, we gotta go to dad's house, you know, because being the fun parent is tiring. I have a bad back because I got knocked off a helicopter in the Army, and also a lot of improper lifting. But my back, just throwing two 40-pound kids around the room, like they want to be thrown on the couch, they want to be thrown on the bed, they want to be spun in circles, and you know, it's one of those things where I wouldn't trade it for the world, but also, ow, my back. But yeah, I mean, I remember the kids. I go visit their grave probably once a year. Not on any particular day. It's kind of it's a little ways away from where I live now. So when I'm up in the area, I'm like, oh, you know, let me go visit their grave if it's the right time of day. You know, the cemetery closes at dusk or whatever. So I try and get up there. Father's Day is kind of a little bittersweet sometimes, because I have my kids and they're awesome, and if schedules line up, I'll have them on Father's Day. But you know, they're still so little that it's, you know, they don't understand Father's Day, and I have people tell me Happy Father's Day, but I have a feeling that people that know about my kids that died are a little gun shy about wishing me Happy Father's Day. It's definitely one of those things where like I've had friends and they know about what happened, and when Father's Day comes around, it's kind of a, do we tell Kevin Happy Father's Day? Or, especially the first year after it happened, it was that first Father's Day, and like Lily was born in January, so Father's Day was Mother's Day was a couple months after that, so it was kind of like that was an awkward Mother's Day. Next year, and like they say, time makes everything better, or heals all wounds or whatever. I don't know if the wounds are necessarily healed, but they're definitely in the background now. They're not so apparent. I've got so much going on in my life. Ashley's got a lot going on in her life. We've both, built careers and things like that, and it's kind of like after a couple of years, it's hard to find time to feel the same intense emotions every year, every time a birthday comes up. I know Ashley has her rituals with it, and I have a bunch of pictures on my computer that I'll go through sometimes. When the kids' birthdays come up, I definitely feel it. There's one thing my counselor told me is that you're going to get anniversary symptoms. Depression and anxiety is going to kick up, and you're not really going to know why until you look at the date, and then you realize, oh, it's the second week of January. Lily's birthday is in a couple of days or whatever, and that's why you're feeling antagonistic, or you're feeling sad, or whatever. It's and that'll fade, but there's definitely a part of me that doesn't want it to, because it's such a big event in my life. Like, that completely changed the course of my life. Like, I was in the Army, and I had a lot of motivation. I might have stayed in if they had let me, if I had gotten back surgery or something, or I might have medically retired. But as soon as Lily died, I lost all motivation. And I know Ashley got depressed, and so it was more or less I talked to my command, and I'm like, look, I don't have it anymore. Like, I'm gassed right now, and so I got kind of pushed to the wayside as far as the Army went, and they just let me get out. When my time was up, I think I had 6 months left, and so I pretty much just spent it, job hunting and languishing around the house and being really sad. But yeah, I would say anybody that goes through this, it's it's imperative that you get some kind of help. The worst thing you can do is what I did, and be stubborn. And as much as you might think that you've been through bad things before, like you had an alcoholic family, there's domestic violence or whatever you've been through. This is a different kind of thing. This is it's a different cut, and it's not something that you should or can deal with yourself. Like, I'm sure there are people out there that could, but getting help makes it that much easier, makes it that much quicker for you to find your bearings, because I think that's the worst part about it is if you don't have a definite answer medically, is that you're going to be lost. You're not going to know where to turn. You're not going to know what the next step is. I think Ashley went through a battery of tests, and blood samples and EEGs and the whole thing. It's blood pressure. It's blood volume. It's all this weird stuff. None of which solve the problem, but going through medical appointments and tests like that is stressful. So it's best to make it a team effort, because you might think that you're strong enough to handle all that, but it's going to wear you down. And the people that are going to suffer is not just you. It's going to be the people around you, people that care about you, people that you might want to get to know better, that are going to push you away because you put off this negative vibe because you're hurting, and that's fine. But if you're hurting and you're not finding help, you're not accepting help, no one's gonna want to associate with you, and rightfully so. It's not everyone else's mission to fix you. You've got to make the effort, and and I think if you're in this kind of situation, counseling, religion, reading, you have to. There has to be purpose to your life besides kids. Kids are a huge reason to, my kids are a huge reason that I work as hard as I do, and they're a big part of my life. But you if you have hobbies, you have religion, you have people around you, try and focus on the things you do have and not so much on what you lost. It's going to be really hard to get better if you don't have that stuff in your life. It's, you're just going to sit there and spin your wheels like I was. So, yeah.
Well, thanks, Kevin. I just have a few questions, if you don't mind. I mean, I appreciate all that you said. I mean, that was a lot, but it was out of your heart, and so thank you so much for doing that. So as you already have established, this is my ex-husband, Kevin. And so with that, I know that I was not, I was grieving in my own way as well. And for the women out there who have lost and their husbands or boyfriends are feeling this way, how can they or we help them, or what would have been something that would have been helpful for us to...
I think, if you guys have a bond, we differed, me and you differed because you're religious and I'm not. And so your chosen way to help with the grief was to seek friends in the church and counseling that way. And I think that's probably a big, it was kind of a friction point with our relationship before, me not wanting to go to church and whatnot. So if you're in this situation, you should definitely look for common ground, something that you guys both enjoy, something that can help you both get over the pain and begin processing what happened. Like, if you can, play sports together, go to counseling together, go to church together, whatever it is, it's you guys are both in parenting together, you have to process this together. Unless, there's got to be fringe cases where it's not possible, but if at all possible, your partner and you getting help together is going to be the best thing. So, find a way to do stuff together, find a way to be together, and I think it'll make you feel a lot better. It's hard feeling alone.
Yeah.